Hi, everybody. Just letting everyone in. Got a bit of a crowd today. Welcome. If you want to put your camera on so we can see who you are, that would be wonderful. Thanks, Rebecca. You could have actually come in here.
I know. You know what? I'm working at home today, so I yeah. Next time, next year.
Yeah. Yes.
Probably at the end of the year.
Well,
all right. Got a few.
Yeah, still some.
Got a few on.
Fireflies.
A few coming on. All right. Well, let's get started. So welcome to our 16th in the series of Lunch and Learns this year. And this is our final Lunch and Learn for the year. Can you believe it? Can't believe it. And we've had such a big response. Started off with only, like 100 people registering, and now we've got 400 people registering to hear what we've got to say. So very, very excited. But to kick things off, everyone definitely knows who I am, Helen. But we've got Lisa, Baxter and Georgia that have done a wonderful job so far this year in just helping, supporting, coordinating everything that we need to do, making up all the slides, tiles, etc. So thank you from me to you. So today, without further ado, we have Human Experience. They are our host, and the owner of this business is Nic McClanachan. And she has got an amazing background and experience and a wonderful smile. So Nic worked 7 years at McDonald's and even worked as an area manager for a franchisee and has even been a franchisee of Fernwood, which, is my background as well, which is great. So really today we're going to be listening to why service matters from a commercial point of view, and I'm sure you'll all be very interested in everything Nic's got to say today. But if you want to ask questions at any time, please do. Take yourself off mute, ask the question, or put your hand up. Some of you are pretty cool at doing that.
Or your virtual hand as well.
Or, your virtual hand. Yep. Or, sorry, I meant virtual hand. Or type in the chat if you want. So over to Nic. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Helen. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I know it's a really busy time of year, so I really appreciate you taking out your time today. So as Helen said, my business is Human Experience, and we're all about supporting businesses, including franchises, to be exceptional at customer service consistently, and it's all about consistency for us. So today I'm going to share some data cases with you from some of the clients that we're working at that hopefully help you appreciate why it's really important to prioritize service, even at this very, very busy time of year. So I'm just going to share my screen. And Helen, if you can give me a nod when you can see my screen, let me know. Yep, thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, so why service is so important. So often there's a lot of different priorities in business, and service is one of those things that instinctively we know is important and we want to prioritize. But part of our job here at Human Experience is to really demonstrate the commercial importance of why service is so important. So first of all, I want to share some data with you from one of the world's largest research houses, Gallup. You've probably heard of Gallup before. And they have this paper that they released called Why Customer Engagement Matters So Much. Now, this is, like I said, a very valid research house, and in terms of their research, validity and reliability is all double ticked. And they found that a fully engaged customer, and the the important point there is a fully engaged customer, represents a 23% premium in terms of both profitability and revenue when compared against the average value of a customer. So we talk about customer engagement a lot. And the more customers that you can have fully engaged, you will notice a difference in terms of your revenue and profit. Conversely, in the same study, Gallup released that a actively disengaged customer, again, you probably know this intuitively, represents a 13% discount in terms of revenue or profit when compared to the average value of a customer. So this is why when you're thinking about your customer experience, you want to maximize the number of actively engaged customers, and you want to minimize the number of actively disengaged customers, because it will impact your revenue and profit. Now, to add to this, this is more local from a local study. This was from PricewaterhouseCoopers from their future customer report. And again, a lot of this stuff, you'd be like, intuitively, I know this. You know this because you're a consumer yourself. So 72% of Australians say that they will stop shopping with a brand after one negative customer experience. I can see Georgia smiling there. You're pretty big on my screen at the moment. I'm like, oh yeah, you're probably thinking of a brand that you've maybe had a negative customer experience with, and you're like, I'm done, you're dead to me. But we all do it, particularly as the market gets easier and easier to change brands as well. When it's harder to change, we might continue shopping with someone because we have to. But after one negative experience, so customer service does really matter. So what I thought I'd do today is share 3 different data cases with you all that really show that caring for your customers is actually caring for your business, and it should be a priority. It should take some of your time and your energy and your focus. It should be part of your strategy, and in your leadership discussions is about service. Okay. So our data cases. The first data case I want to share with you is from an industry that's close to my heart, and it's QSR. As Helen said, I did cut my teeth at McDonald's. I worked there for 7 years and worked my way up from a crew trainer to be an area manager for my franchisee, and I loved it. It's still in my blood. I'm almost certain of it. So this particular case study I'm sharing with you, it's with a QSR client, and they have over 50 stores and they are growing, and they started mystery shopping with us earlier this year. Now, what they decided to do with, we call it a 4-week blitz. They started with weekly mystery shops for 4 weeks, because until we get at least 3 data points, we can't be sure exactly where the service delivery is. You know, it might just be a bad day. It might just be really busy. But once you've got 3 data points, you've got a good representation of what's actually happening with your customers. Now, amongst other things, one of the things that we assess, so I handpicked this particular one as an example because I think it really shows how important service is commercially for a business, is we assess whether the staff were asking mystery shoppers if they wanted to add a complementing add-on to their basic orders. So our mystery shopper brief was to place a basic order and to assess whether that staff member suggested something that would complement their order that's an add-on. So after the first 4 weeks, so we collected over 200 data points here, 28% of their team members asked our shoppers if they wanted an add-on. 28%. That puts them in the red zone. We use a bit of a traffic light system, so anything below 67% is considered, it's a high risk area. So this is underperforming, right? When you think that only 30% of the time were we asked if we wanted an add-on, and we definitely ordered a basic order. So what this QSR client then did is, since that 4-week blitz, they've updated their onboarding training. They realized, and it wasn't just this thing, there were a number of things that they updated, but they realized they weren't doing a good enough job of onboarding their team members and training them around things like how to genuinely suggest an add-on that would complement a basic order that someone makes. They continue to mystery shop monthly and still continue to do so. They're going to be very busy in January, and they've actually decided to do weekly again in January because they want to make sure everyone's really focused on this. And they provide coaching to their team members using the feedback that they get. So we just wrapped up their November mystery shopping results. They scored 79% in November for this particular measure. So that means 8 out of 10 times, as opposed to 3 out of 10 times, were their team members asking our mystery shoppers whether they would like a complementing add-on. Now, this is a representation of what's happening with your customers. That's why we do this. It's less about the actual mystery shopping results and more about this is a representation of what's happening with your customers. So then you do the sums on this. Based on the number of transactions per store, the number of basics orders made, and the value of those add-ons, even if we say only 80% of the staff suggestive sell that add-on and only 20% of customers say yes, it's an extra $38,300 revenue per store. There's over 50 stores. You do the sums. There's $2 million to your top line. This is why customer service matters. And that's one measure. This is one of the ways that actually often QSR businesses engage with us initially, because this is a really easy way to show that this program more than pays for itself. So that's our QS data case. Should I check in if anyone has any questions before I move to the next data case? No? Okay, all right, so I'll keep going. So the next data case I have to share is with a fitness client. So as Helen mentioned, I used to be a franchisee with Fernwood. I had 3 clubs. My wife is still a current franchisee with Anytime Fitness. She's been in the network since 2010 and currently has 3 clubs as well. And I think it's around 40% of our clients are fitness clients. So I picked one. I've actually released a case study on this particular client earlier this year. So we started mystery shopping this particular fitness client in September 2023, and they came to us basically in crisis because their conversion rate was below industry standard. So their conversion rate was sitting at 23%. So that meant from inquiry to converted member was 23% conversion. So they were, once someone had inquired, you had 80% chance of them not actually going on and joining. So they engaged us to mystery shop because they were like, we're in crisis mode because this statistic is just not good enough across our clubs. And we mystery shopped every stage of their sales process for every week for 12 weeks. That's pretty intensive. So not every client does this, but they were in crisis mode, like we need to raise these numbers. Now, their sales process is all about genuinely connecting with these prospects, listening to them and making personal, genuine recommendations. So, you know, when we actually mystery shop our clients, we customize the mystery shop template based on their service standards. So we understood their service standards and we started to assess. So after their first round, week 1 of the 12 weeks, again, we measured a number of things, but overall they scored 32%. So very similar score to the previous one, a little bit higher, but that was overall. Some things they were doing better than others, but overall it was 32%, puts them in the red zone. Definitely a high risk area, which they knew. They knew it was a high risk area because they were underperforming. So every week for 12 weeks, these guys did the hard work. It was an absolute pleasure. We love partnering with clients like this. And so every week we'd send them their mystery shopping results, and they would have team huddles, and they'd talk really openly about what were the missed opportunities, what did they do well, were there any barriers in place for them, you know, delivering on these service standards, what do we need to do differently, why do we do this, having all of those huddles. And then they facilitated coaching where skills gaps, it then became things that they took for granted that they thought their team could do. They had gaps, but they were able to tell because they kept getting this data. So then what happened? Round 12, 83% overall, smashing it. That was at week 12. But better than that, that's all fine and good. Like the mystery shopping results, great. You ready? Conversions lifted to 51%. That is above industry standard. So what happens now, this client has continued to mystery shop, but they've pulled it back to monthly. They still do their coaching sessions and their huddles, and they've actually been able to maintain their conversion rate, actually lifted a little bit to 53%. In terms of their mystery shopping results, they're at an 80% average. Literally last month, I looked at their average, they're at 88%. So they are consistently delivering on their sales process, and they are therefore consistently delivering with their conversions. Now, in terms of what that means for the business from a commercial standpoint, I love these numbers. You can probably tell that I'm a bit of a numbers nerd. Apply some basics maths to this. Okay, so if you get 100 inquiries to join your fitness club every month, which is, you know, pretty conservative, that's not crazy, and your average sale is worth $1,000 over 12 months. Before mystery shopping, remembering that they were converting 23%, that's 23,000 in revenue that they're converting for the year. But after mystery shopping, they started converting, and now they're converting 53,000 on average a year. The difference between that conversion rate is 360,000 per club per year. I'm not going to tell you how many clubs these guys have. I'm always, we never share our clients' data, but they have multiple clubs. So this is, and again, they worked really hard for this, but there's a really good commercial example of why service matters and why delivering it to a standard consistently can really make a big difference to a business. I've got one more data case to share. Shall I check in and see if anyone has any questions? I'm conscious I talk fast and I talk loud.
Yeah. Hang on. I've got a question. So in the past, this person's had negative experience in mystery shopping, but both in generally the experience, but more the feedback. And I guess that's probably point in case there. But like, why would they really want to do it? The numbers speak for themselves, but
yeah, it's a good question. This is a common thing. Unfortunately, we have found in the past that not all mystery shopping suppliers are created equal. So the first thing I'd say is that we mystery shop based on your service standards, not some made up. Like, we ask you, what do you want your service to look like? What's the perfect member journey or the perfect customer journey? And then we assess objectively against that. So all of our mystery shoppers are trained in your brand standards and have to score 100% in a knowledge check to show that they are ready to do that. We also have 2 different people quality check the reports to make sure that they're not judgmental, they're not critical, that they tell the story of the experience against your service standards. So in that way, we hope that we're providing you with objective-based feedback around the key drivers that you believe drive revenue and profitability in your business versus some made-up things that we think are really important. And I come from a learning and development background, so I know how important it is that the written comments are written in an objective way, because when you are providing coaching, you don't want your team to go into fight or flight mode. So if it is critical, like a Google review can be, and we know what that's like, we know what our brains go into, they go into fight or flight. We tell the story of what happened, so that hopefully you can then more aptly have a coaching conversation. I say to our clients all the time, the mystery shopping results actually don't matter. What matters is what you do with it. We're actually detached from what the results are. What we care is that you're doing something with the feedback to turn the ship around and to hopefully start to deliver on brand to your standards consistently so that you can get these good results. Shall I go to the last data case that I've got here? Yeah, okay. Sure. So the next one is a retail chain case study. I will tell you this is not a franchise, but I just thought it was another industry that we could share with you. We work with all different industries, by the way. We work with childcare, we work with swim centres, we work in travel, hospitality. I should probably share a pub group example, but yeah, we can work in any service-based industry where there's a customer interacting with your business. So this particular retail chain engaged us back in 2022. They have just over 30 stores. They're in Australia and New Zealand. And amongst other things, one of the things that we assessed is if their staff members were checking in on customers while trying things on in the change room. Now, as consumers, we all relate to this, right? When you're in a change room, you're on your own and no one checks in on you and you're there and you're vulnerable and you need another size. Or you're just like, God, if someone just helped me, maybe then I might be able to actually walk out the door with some items. So this was a really important part of their assessment. First round, they started with monthly and they are still mystery shopping monthly to this day. It's now over 2 years. They scored 18%. So 18% of the time, their staff were checking in with customers in the change rooms. Our mystery shoppers were setting a timer for 4 minutes. They were standing there waiting for 4 minutes. And 18% of the time, they got checked in on. November 2024, they're up at 91% for change room check-ins. This is, and these guys, it didn't happen. I'm going to sound like a commercial. It didn't happen overnight, but they coach, they train, and they constantly providing this feedback. So their team are like, right, this is important. Obviously, this is important, and it is really important. They then assess something else as well. So the second thing they assessed is if someone checked in on you, did they offer to get you another size or item? Not just say, hey, how you doing? Did they offer to get you another size or item? So if I go back a slide, actually, so let's call it 20% of the time were you actually getting checked in over 2 years ago? And then of that 20%, only 10% of the time were they asking if you wanted another size or another item. Is anyone surprised by this? Like, we've all been customers, right, where this has happened.
100%.
There you go.
Last month. Now, they're still not, what was their last stat? 91%. So 9 out of 10 times were they getting checked in on, but of those 9 out of 10 times, 100% of the time, they were being asked if they want another size or another item. This is huge change. I do have to say it didn't happen overnight. They really started to see a big change between month 6 and month 12 of the program. I recently met with the owner of this business and asked him, why do you keep doing this? And he's like, I know what will happen if I stop. I know what will happen if we drop the ball on our service. Now, in terms of the commercial impact on this business, so they track how many customers, it's not a human, they have a tracker that tracks how many people cross their lease line. Conversions are up 27% from when we first started mystery shopping. And then I love, this is a recent stat that they shared with me in September. Items per basket, financial year 24 is up by 33%. It's no wonder though, right? Like, I'm sure they've done other things as well. But if you are if their staff members are bringing them different sizes, different options, of course you're going to have more items per basket per sale.
Engagement.
Retail, yeah, customer engagement matters. Service matters. Caring for your customers makes really good commercial sense. I've got a slide now around just really high level, what you can do if you want to focus on your service. So happy to go to that and maybe just check in though if there's any questions.
Nothing in the chat.
Has anyone got any questions?
No. Okay. So high level, we actually have a downloadable PDF that goes into more detail than this, but these are our 5 key steps to exceptional customer service. So the first thing you need to do is define it. Like, what are your unique service standards that drive engagement? And you need to obviously make sure what drives engagement for your customer, not what you think drives engagement, but what makes you unique. You know, an example I will often share, I've worked with this particular pub group now since we started 8 years ago. And they have one particular venue that's very sports driven, particularly football driven. And their service standard is if one of their patrons comes to the bar in a jersey of any kind, the staff member standard is they will engage with you about your team. They'll ask you a question, or they'll make a comment on last week's game, or where they're like, that is something that, can you imagine how if every staff member is doing that consistently at a venue that's all about sports, and particularly footy, how that drives engagement, right? So define what your service standards are. And then the second step to that is aligning it. And what I mean by that is these service standards don't exist in a vacuum or in isolation. You need to make sure that it's aligned to everything in your business. On your onboarding programs, do you have the resources available to support your service standards? You know, you don't want to be training your staff that you must do this, but then you're not giving the resources to be able to deliver that. The third thing is coach it. You've got to coach it. And coaching is like parenting. It is relentless and it is daily. It is not just a one-off onboarding program. Coaching is every conversation in the moment, you know, positive or constructive. It's there. The fourth is measure it. That's where we come in. You know, you don't really know what's going on until you start assessing it. And it's only the brave organizations that engage with us, to be honest, because it can be pretty scary asking for this feedback, but you don't really know until you start seeking it. And it's not that people have bad intentions. You know, we've worked with another retail group that was like absolutely certain that our team are asking if they want to be rewards members. Then they started mystery shopping and they like nearly fell over because hardly any of their staff were asking if they wanted to be a rewards member. And what we discovered was the staff were doing it, but only when the conditions were good, when it wasn't too busy, when they didn't have a fight with their boyfriend the night before, when the cat hadn't been at the vet or whatever it was, right? Or there hadn't been a busload of people just come in. When all the conditions were right, they would ask it, but how often are all the conditions right? So measuring it's really important. And lastly, to talk about it. Again, they don't exist in isolation. On your socials, on your website, anytime you get to speak to anyone, you know, service is like the blood that runs through your organization's veins, and to be talking about it constantly is really important. So they're our top tips. If you head to our website, I think I've got one more slide. This is just a QR code just that takes you directly to our website. You know, you can download that and have a look at like where you're at and what you might need to consider, or you can reach out to us and let us know that you might want our help. I hope what I've done today is elevate. This is a strategically important part of your business that does really matter. It matters on a whole lot of levels, but even if just from a P&L standpoint, service, really does matter.
Excellent.
Any questions?
Great. Yes. Any questions? Any like positive comments, negative comments? You know what you've seen.
Constructive.
I should say, even on our mystery shopping reports, we'll say we give a score because everything's objective, so that we can benchmark your results. And we have positive scores and opportunity scores. So it's like, it's just an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's not negative. It's an opportunity to do better next time.
Sure.
Stop sharing.
Anybody?
I've got a question.
Yes. Thanks, Carla.
Hi, it's Carla from Franchise Radio. Yeah, I'm interested to understand, like you hear a lot of brands, a lot of businesses using NPS scoring to collect customer data, and how does that sort of play? And obviously it doesn't sound like what you do, but how does that, you know, have you had an experience maybe working with brands that have been using that and then switched to mystery shopping?
A lot of clients continue to use NPS and do both. So with NPS is a great pulse check. I think it's originally a Bain & Co product. It's awesome. I guess the difference is that we're assessing your particular perfect member customer journey against your service standards. And generally NPS will pick up you're actively engaged and you're actively disengaged, and normally the people that will participate in that. So I think it's a great pulse check. I think it's a really great thing to do. And I encourage our clients to continue to do that. This is in terms of, you know, sometimes we find with mystery shopping, what will happen is our mystery shoppers will say they were so friendly, they were really nice, but they missed all of these things. So your NPS might be saying the personal skills or, you know, were warm, or but they might not be picking up the missed opportunities against your service standard. So I think we go a little bit deeper and more specific to your brand.
Yeah, right. Oh, good stuff. Thanks, Nic. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
I love how Carla just like appeared like by magic.
Yeah.
Then on this. Yeah. Anyone else
Yeah,
want
that
to
was
appear
good.
by magic?
Got to be more questions.
Well, I mean, it's indicative of the fact that it was quite clear, you know, quite concise and quite obvious of results that people can expect. And they were actual case studies, so you weren't just, you know, saying it could happen. It does happen, which is great. Well, if there's no more, then there's no more. We can't get any more, I guess. That's all right. Okay. Well, on that note, thank you very much, Nic. That was very informative.
welcome.
If you didn't get the QR code, when I send out the recording, I will send the QR code out as well as Nic's email address. Oh, we got somebody. No,
Rebecca,
Rebecca, did you want to say something?
No.
Just wanted to see a smiley face.
Yeah, I
Excellent.
was
All right.
chiming in to say goodbye. That's all right.
Thank you. So I guess, yeah, from all of us, we'll want to say thank you. Thank you all for your participation this year. It's 400 strong, which is fantastic. And I must admit, I went to, you know, all the Christmas parties, as I'm sure you've all seen my LinkedIn, and so many people came up to me and said, we love the Lunch and Learns. We, you know, if I can't get there, I watch the recording, you know, in downtimes, and so informative. So thank you to everybody that's been a part of it. Merry Christmas, everyone. Yeah, Happy New Year. And we'll see you. I'll get the calendar out in the next week, so you'll be able to see. And next year, it's actually fortnightly. So we're going to be binge lunch and learning next year and listening to everything. And also, I will send out a survey straight after this for the year for all your comments. But if not, if you don't want to do that, got the QR code there that George has created. Just scan that on your phone now and give us some feedback.
Speaking of feedback.
Yeah, speaking of mystery shop feedbacks. So thank you, everybody, from the team at FCA.
Have a good Christmas.
Have a great Chrissy and a new
Thank
year.
you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nic.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm saying
Thank you, Amy.
and bye.